Council members?
I have something to say. I am thinking a little bit about how to really make it fair to both sides, people who both want to be able to use this product to stop smoking, but also to be able to protect our youth and our community. Perhaps what could happen is ban flavored tobacco products, but for instance, be able to allow an e-cigarette product that doesn't have any flavors, has a picture of grandma or something really, super uncool all over it. And, that is for people who want to quit smoking, but get rid of all the things that, the flavors that youth seem to be attracted to. Also, the other thing about the cigarette size, or the packs being 20, I think that is a good rule. It would be a problem for people who are poor, but it would probably help keep youth away from cigarette products if they were more expensive. Yeah.
Okay, we're doing on the line. Okay. Listen, I heard a lot of comments tonight about the youth. And I don't think there's anything more important to all of us than our children. And we can't be naive that regulating something is going to keep it out of the hands of our children. It's all of our jobs as parents and adults to look out for our children in many ways and find out if they're doing this. So maybe I'm really a proponent of extremely tough penalties for the folks that violate the law. And there hasn't been, that I've seen, enough regulation from the federal government on what vaping should be. And, so I would say that tougher penalties, if you start getting into the flavor this, flavor that, and you get flavored alcohols the kids get wrapped up into. And I think I would be very concerned about taking away a lot of seniors and adults' rights to choose whether they smoke, chew tobacco, or vape. I happen to know an 80-year-old friend of mine that quit smoking and he vapes. And like I said before, it's a much pleasant environment to be around for me. I don't have to sweep up all the cigarette butts from the ground when we're gone for the weekend somewhere. And plus, I can breathe the air around me. I have a tough time with passing an ordinance when we don't know what the cost of the ordinance is going to be to the business owners. When we give somebody a blank check and we say, well, it's just going to be what it costs to implement the program or keep the program going. Well, the program could grow to a crazy size, and then the penalties would be pretty severe. So although I am 100% against any of this affecting the youth, I have a hard time supporting taking away the adults' rights because we're not managing our children better. So for that reason, I can't.
Can I ask a follow-up question for Paul or Rachel? Can I? Ted? So during public comment, somebody mentioned the requirements passed in the city of Berkeley and how it greatly reduced the use of these products in the youth. Do you have those numbers? Is that an actual, are there numbers, statistics for that?
I don't have, do you have this? Neither of us have the statistics specifically for Berkeley on hand, so I can't report on that exactly.
So
sorry.
When you talk about the 10 cities in Alameda County that have adopted these TRLs, are they really similar requirements across the board? Or do they vary according to each city?
They vary. So in the past year, City of Livermore, Albany, Fremont, City of Alameda have all passed ordinances, and they all have a lot of similarities to this. They're not all exactly the same, but most of them either have all of them have some restriction, have banned flavored tobacco product sales, and most of them have also set minimum prices. City of Livermore did ban the sale of all electronic smoking devices. Oh, okay. So, do you know where it's from? If we find out where we got the data from, we'll get it to you. Sorry.
Chuck, were you done? I'm done. Were you done?
Yeah, no. This is really a tough issue because I understand the store owners, and it is their right. I mean, they need to make a living as well. I think I like Chuck. I mean, we should really crack down on somebody who is not adhering to the rules that we currently have in place, and it needs to be tough. Tobacco, I mean, e-cigarettes it's still nicotine. And I remember, and I think, Mark, that you were on this council when they first came here, and Cheryl, remember, she tried one or something? Yeah. And the intent of the e-cigarette was to help people get off of cigarettes. And that's, I mean, it might have helped for some of our elderly people, and they're using that, but it has brought in a whole new generation of nicotine users, and that's a serious problem. It's a serious health problem. I have a 4-year-old grandson. I hate to see what's going to happen by the time, probably won't be here, but by the time he can make that choice. I think San Francisco banned the Juul cigarettes as well. The flavored products, for all of the people that were smokers since they were 13, 15, 20 that are now on vaping and whatever, they didn't start out with any type of flavored products other than, I think, a menthol. I think this ordinance needs to be tweaked. I'm not in favor of it in its current reiteration here. I agree, we need to know what it's going to cost, and I don't want it to impact the businesses that we have, but I also don't want to see the business grow. I don't like being around smokers. I'm a non-smoker. I would like us to limit it to the numbers that we currently have.
Shannon, did you have anything you want to say?
Stupid thing. All right. This, I have a few more things. So my concerns really, as I addressed before, was really the overreaching on the government regulation piece of this. However, you know, there is clearly an issue here. So there was something that was brought up tonight that was it was interesting by one of the store owners. And the thing is that the accountability's got to land somewhere. And so there's accountability in 2 or 3 different areas here, from the parents to the schools to the distribution. I mean, it falls in a number of places. However, having a business that has the ability to sell to adults and is heavily regulated against, I mean, if selling to any minors or children, and making it so ridiculously stiff that it keeps everybody in line. I am, you know, and looking at all these things, it looks like I'm not even sure if I'm in the candy aisle. I'm not sure where I'm at with this. If there was an ability to create generic packaging for all of it so that there was nothing interesting about any of it, and if you actually had to have it, you could, you know, it was there, and it had the ability to do something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's nothing but annoying. Smoke cigarettes, cigarette smoke, or vape smoke, or whatever it is. I don't like either. So, but that's not really what we're deciding here. We're trying to figure out how to manage this and move this forward. So, I'm not sure that the way that it's written 100% is something that, you know, I can support. But there's just, you know, like I said, there's a few things here that I think that we need to look at, and I think that there should be stiffer fines and just the loss of the ability to have a license to sell the products should be hanging over the heads of everyone that's actually engaged in selling any of these products. I don't know how they're going to deal with the online sales and some of these other issues, as I brought up before, but those are my points.
Okay, yeah, I think it needs to be tweaked a little bit. I don't want to take adults' right to choose, but I think protecting the children trumps all that. And I'd like to, right now in its form, I'm not ready to vote that way, but I think the kids are the most important thing here. So I'd like to come back and see some figures on the costs, and then we can go from there.
Have you considered, I forgot your name, Paul. So on top of the fact that you're basically, you're targeting the distribution side of this, how do you see any of the accountability falling anywhere around? I mean, I understand the opportunity to kind of misguide parents and do things behind their back and pick something up on their way to school versus having to order it online. I can think of all of those things that can happen, but I don't even know what the schools have an opportunity to do when they, you catch somebody doing something. I mean, everybody gets in trouble for everything, so I'm not sure, how does that handled in schools? I don't know.
So, first, we weren't trying to promote that tobacco products be bought online, and so I apologize if that was the message that you got.
No, but
Okay.
it's a reality.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that, in order to support our young people, it takes a many-faceted approach. And so part of that is work in the schools, part of it is what parents and other concerned adults do, and part of it is about addressing the environment. And so the part that we're talking about today is specifically around addressing the environment, but it doesn't mean that those other pieces aren't equally important and really need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in probably hearing more from the students that are dealing with this on a daily basis than half the adults that had something to say. I really do. So it's going to be, it might be a little bit better.
Paul, I wanted to ask you a question, and and all of the people from the high schools and all of these, where are these kids getting it? Where are they buying it now? If it is such an epidemic and all of these store owners are saying they're carding them, is it online? Where are they getting it?
I work for the school district.
Okay.
I would answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Nick McMaster, Director of Student Services for Castro Unified School District. It's not, there's underage young people buying directly from stores. There's a lot of legal adults buying these and reselling them. In the same way someone would shoulder tap for alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you have valid points about the chains of responsibility. I can tell you at the high school alone, we have 7 administrators. So these are, these are people like in my position. That's what I was in last year and the previous 4 years, where we are primarily focused on keeping the campus safe. We're looking at all the suspendable education codes from California as they set out the 48900 codes, of which tobacco use or possession was a suspendable code. We had a massive uptick in our suspensions, which is the most severe penalty we can hand out, approximately 3 years ago. And the state has pushed in, along with the county, with funding to acknowledge that we're not in scared straight tactics anymore. We have hooked kids. So we are taking a mental health approach to it. We're not a mental health facility.
Right.
We've created counseling positions. The county's supporting us with that. We are trying to go the preventative route with education. We have, on top of those 7 administrators, we have approximately 8 full-time security safety staff. And I would like to say that 3 or 4 years ago, we were focusing on how to rotate around the campus to keep proximity to students in common areas. Now every single one of those rotations includes bathroom check-ins. So to say we could do more, we could certainly use a few more people.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I personally have hung out in a bathroom way more than I'd like to, and it's certainly not for the pleasant smell. The kid, we're talking about hooked kids. To say it's one singular issue, I think would be incomplete. There's multiple places where this is going wrong with many adults. It's not, to say it's the storefronts selling to underage kids, that could be happening, but that's not all of it. It's older brothers, it's people in the community, it's getting around, but it's in their hands, it's stuffed in their socks. By the time they make it to my office, You know, it's prevalent. It's an issue, and no data could capture what we would see on a daily basis, which it has skyrocketed. And it's not a class-related thing. It's not one type of kid. It's every kid. It's the leadership kid. It's the athlete. It's the kid that looks like they're looking for trouble. It's the kid that's got a huge backpack full of textbooks and is reading in between break. It's out there, and it's not just the one kid just trying it. It's every type of kid.
So is there any data that shows that these, prohibition lowers that rate at the school?
I'm not here to speak to that. I'm here to speak to what we're experiencing in the schools.
Okay.
They're more experts to that. The data I know, they're relaying to me. The new survey results, which will be out in January from our school district for grades 5, 7, 9, 11, and alt ed, will give you an accurate account of what the students see in terms of severity in the schools.
And Mark? That one young lady wanted to say something.
We don't want to reopen the public.
Right.
Okay.
One question. Are you
We
seeing-
still have another agenda item. so-
Are you seeing this at the middle school age too?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not nearly as significant as the high school, clearly, but yes, we're dealing with it at the middle schools. Fortunately, not as severely, but it has pushed down, and the fear is it's just going to keep pushing down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, we have to stop at some point. We have another agenda item. It's already 8:35. Council members, Paul, what's the timeline on this? Is this one of those got to go to the Board of Supervisors last week things, or what?
Oh, it's not until next month.
That's the same
Yeah.
thing.
We're aiming to get it to go to the full Board of Supervisors on December 17th. So what we're planning is to present at the Fairview MAC on December 3rd, at Unincorporated Services Committee on December 4th, and then to the full Board of Supervisors on December 17th.
Okay, so that's pretty fast
Yeah.
tracked. So it's not going to the Planning Commission for,
No, it's not.
okay. So this is our one and only crack at it, sounds like.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. She was trying to talk about the data, and so what the data showed was that the sales rates had been at 38% in City of Berkeley, and they dropped down to 4%. So that was an 83% decrease in violations, and so that's what the stat was. So.
Thank you.
So, Mark, are we allowed to make any changes to it, or is it
We can
either
make a
just yes or
recommendation.
no?
No, we can make a recommendation based on, what we think we should do, This is going to be countywide, so it will be for the entire unincorporated area. Obviously, we're going to look at it from the Castro Valley standpoint. I'll be honest, I'm not a prohibitionist. We dealt with this years ago with alcohol. We had exactly the same kind of hearings here. A lot of kids from the high school, the sky is falling, that sort of thing. And I'm not saying that this is not a significant problem that we're dealing with. I've just never found prohibition to be the answer in these situations. So council members, since we only have one shot at this, what I'd like to propose, the pages in the PowerPoint here give, an overview of the proposed TRL ordinance, and starting on this page here, which is not numbered, which is right after the federal and California laws page. So here's the federal and California page. All right, so the next page after that is the proposed local TRL requirements. It starts out with no selling tobacco without a valid local TRL. Okay, that makes sense. Prohibits the sale of flavored tobacco products. Prohibits the sale of all electronic smoking devices. My proposal, and I may craft this as a motion at some point if so motivated to do so, would be on this page to eliminate the second and third bullet points because that is prohibition to me. In fact, it starts with the word prohibit, so that's pretty straightforward. So as far as no selling tobacco without a valid TRL, I think the TRL, the requirement for the TRL is fine. I think the case has been made that we need that. We need closer oversight of the retailers that are selling this. Going on to the next page, creating pricing requirements for the sale of tobacco. I don't see an issue with any of those. I mean, I've heard the concerns about your basket of goodies over there being too cheap, and this is one way to address that issue, which I think is legitimate. The next page is creates tobacco retailing density requirements. This is very similar to what we do with alcohol outlets. I don't see any issue with that. Prohibits pharmacies from obtaining a TRL. I'd like to know, I guess, do we have pharmacies that are currently selling?
Walgreens, Safeway, Rite Aid.
So they're selling those in the pharmacies or in the supermarket? Okay, so that's not a pharmacy. So I'd like to know if there's what we're doing to existing businesses with that one. So I couldn't vote for that without having the information on that. And that seems to be it. Paul, where's Paul? Am I leaving something out? I don't see anything else that says proposed TRL requirements. Oh, yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so going to, and this kind of goes to the point, Shannon, you were asking about, other jurisdictions. It's really all right there. I kind of like what Livermore did, which was they went a little bit stricter. The first violation was 30 days. The second was a year. The third was revocation. So they're the strictest on this page as far as getting to revocation faster. I would even propose going stronger than that, in the sense that, we need to, if you're not going to ban these products outright, they need to be extremely restricted in the oversight. So the only way that I could go along with not banning them outright would be to have very strict. I mean, I don't even understand why that you get to a fourth violation here. That seems pretty ridiculous. I mean, I think I'd go first, 30 or 90 day suspension, and second revocation. I mean, how many times do you got to be told not to sell this to minors? I think if it was that strict, that you would have some pretty good compliance from the retailers. I'd want to go stricter.
You're going to go
30 or
first?
90 day suspension of sale of the products.
All right, so you're going to move right to that. So
30
first
to
is,
revocation.
no, it's
30 or 90, we can discuss that number, but first. Well, because why do you need to screw up 3 times before you get revoked? That's stupid. I mean, I don't get that.
Mark, there's a cost of implementing all of these things, and it seemed like to me that.
Yeah, right here, annual fee.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, if you break the law, why not a 30 or 90 day suspension, and then a $1,500 fine, and then, you know what I mean? Let's put some heavy penalties.
The 30 to 90 day suspension already carries a financial penalty. If they're not able to sell the product for 30 to 90 days, their sales are going to go down, their profit's going to go down a certain amount.
But I was thinking more along the lines that the fine would be not unlike when you get a traffic ticket, It goes in the
Yeah,
county
but
budget.
but I don't know how much profit there is in this stuff, and we don't have time to figure that out tonight. So
Mark, how
I'm trying to keep it clean and not get into the dollars side of it.
well,
Hayward has $1.
The last thing I want to do is follow Hayward's example. I'm sorry, but
City of Alameda also.
thank you very much.
Right.
Mark, and the board, the big problem with the teens, though, is the flavored tobacco
Get that.
products.
I get
It's
that.
about the flavors. They're attracted, they're things like called bubble gum, tobacco, whatever. And these are the ones that the youth are attracted to. If you didn't have the flavors, you could still have smoking cessation, e-cigarettes that really the youth are not as attracted to, hardly at all attracted to, unless they're already addicted.
What about adults that want to use the flavored products?
What?
What about adults that want to use the flavored products?
Well, I mean, adults can order them online, right? I mean, and they can be there.
Well, then what's the point? I mean, if you're gonna throw in the towel that easily.
You would still have, if it's really about stopping smoking, then you can still have a product there that doesn't have the flavors that the kids are attracted to.
Yeah, that's the same argument that there was prohibition of alcohol in the 1920s, okay? You know, a very small segment, you know, it's a problem for a small segment, so it needs to be banned for the entire population. And I just don't believe, I fundamentally do not believe in prohibition. So that's why I can't just ban those. I mean, I could vote for that if we can't strengthen other parts of this, like the penalty side of it. If we're going to be as lenient as all these cities are, then yeah, I would say I would say ban it.
If all
Because
these cities don't have the flavored tobacco products, they're all going to come run into Castro Valley for them.
I don't know that. It doesn't say that here. It doesn't say which cities banned which products. This is only giving us violations. So we weren't given that information to make our decision. We're not going to get it now. So
You know?
That was kind of my question.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Albany, Berkeley, Oakland, San Leandro, Livermore, Fremont have all banned the sale of flavored products. San Leandro passed theirs a couple years ago, and they created an exemption for menthol cigarettes. Oakland created an exemption for adult-only tobacco retailers that has turned into a mess, where they've got stores within stores, and we really don't want to promote that in the unincorporated area. But all of the recent cities have adopted ordinances that have include restrictions on the sale of flavored tobacco products, and I understand your concern about.
so when you say when you say include restrictions, is that outright banning or is that some sort of hybrid? This is pretty complicated, and honestly, I don't want to make a decision based on the verbal information that you're giving us right now. That should have been in a table here, right?
All right. So restrictions, yes. Prohibition on the sale, not on their use. So I just want to clarify that.
Okay.
Mark, I would support something like Livermore has. If we go to 60 days and in 2 years on the second violation, and then if you can't get it right in 2 years of warnings or violations, then I think you yank your license. You're out of business. You're out of here.
I mean, 2 years is the same as revocation, is it not?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
that's.
Yeah, but I mean,
So-
that person can't come back and get a license again. They're out.
But if you're not doing nothing wrong, then you wouldn't even be dealing with these issues.
Yeah.
I would hope that if we do implement something where there's the, like a 60-day and a fine and the revocation piece, that the annual fee ends up being more reasonable. If they screw up, then they're paying for it right there on the spot. So that would give them a good reason to toe the line.
Is there,
But again, we still don't know where the culprit is for all of this. But it would clearly, the flavored, there's clearly a drop in every area that doesn't support the flavored tobacco.
Where are you getting that at?
Huh? Well, all the areas that were dropped, that were banned, Berkeley and these others, where
That
they've
dropped.
actually had a reduced,
that dropped the flavor.
yeah.
Is there a reason why this can't be postponed for 30 days?
Because it's going to the Board of Supervisors in less than 30
But
days.
that can't be,
I
no?
don't think so. And usually when it's on a fast track like this, yeah, it's just either we do something tonight or it passes us by. That's,
I just wish that we had had more accurate information before crafting an ordinance that's going to affect, the unincorporated area. I wish we had more detail.
Mark, I think prohibition is not the right way of doing this, but I really believe that you come up with a severe penalties for the violators, and then and move forward with it. But taking adults' rights away, to me, is
Right.
not appealing. And
okay, here's what I'm going to do. is I'm going to make a motion that recommends, I'm sorry, the public is closed. The public portion is closed.
No, I just
The
want to share.
public portion,
The
the public portion is closed. That means you cannot speak.
Okay.
So you need to go sit down. You need to go sit down. Is there a sheriff here? Do we have a sheriff here?
Don't do this.
Okay, you will need to be removed. You will need to be removed if you can't be quiet. This is a public hearing. So I want to make a motion to, starting this over again, on the first page here, going back to the first page of the requirements, no selling tobacco or any tobacco-related products, e-cigarette devices without a valid local TRL. The second two bullet points I would eliminate, which are the prohibition of the sale of flavored tobacco products and e-smoking devices. So I would not include that in the TRL. I would remove those two bullet points. Stop me if there's questions, council members. Second page creates pricing requirements. I'm fine with that. Third page creates tobacco retailing density requirements. I'm fine with that. Prohibits pharmacies from obtaining a TRL. I don't have any information on that, so I would not include that in this motion because I haven't been given any information on that, who that affects. And then on the penalties, on the motion that I'm making, the first penalty is a 90-day suspension. The second is revocation. And that is my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so 5 for, 2 against. Motion carries. So,
Opposed.
yeah. Okay. All right, we have another agenda item.
Just wanted to say thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next time, give us more time.